All right, we begin with a story that I'm sure a lot of you in South Africa have experienced, because the social media services Facebook, WhatsApp and Instagram have been hit by an outage lasting more than an hour. All three services are owned by the Facebook company and could not be accessed over the web or by smartphone apps. Down Detector, which tracks outages, logged nearly 80,000 reports for WhatsApp and more than 50,000 for Facebook, and data from the websites that suggests that the outage is affecting user accounts across the world. Well, to help us make sense of what on earth is going on, we're now joined by MyBroadband Editor-in-Large, Jan Vermeulen. Jan, thanks very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
All right, so I guess we now know that if you, on Facebook, you are linked to WhatsApp and you're linked to Instagram instantly.
Yes, I think if anybody didn't know that before today, they'll know now, because, it's just Facebook's network that seems to be impacted here, and it's knocked all of their services offline, including something that I don't think a lot of people in South Africa might have experienced, called Oculus, which is a virtual reality platform. And so, yes, all Facebook properties are affected.
So do we know what's happened?
Unfortunately, not yet. We can only go sort of by the evidence that we have to go on. Facebook hasn't confirmed anything yet, other than to say that they're aware that some people are struggling to access their services, which obviously had everybody cry out, "Some people, it's all people. We can't access a thing." But they've not confirmed what exactly has caused this. Something like this has happened before, back in 2019, which caused an outage of hours long. But based on the information we have, it looks like it's related to what we call the domain name system, or perhaps what we call the border gateway protocol. Long story short, it's got to do with internet routing, how traffic on the internet ultimately gets to your servers. And so somewhere something has gone wrong on the Facebook network that is preventing us, the user, from actually reaching the servers on which Facebook is kept, and WhatsApp is kept for that matter.
So why would they link the three together? They bought them separately, and one would have thought, unless there's algorithms that are popping right through the three systems.
No. So in this case, they are housed separately, and they do kind of operate within their own, I guess, silos, though there is a level of data sharing between some Facebook services. So between Instagram and Facebook, there'll be some data sharing, and there'll be some sharing between WhatsApp and Facebook. So for example, you're able to connect your business's WhatsApp number to your Facebook page, right? But Facebook got in big trouble in the European Union for even a little bit of data sharing between WhatsApp and Facebook. So they're not allowed to do that. What's happening here is the actual network that underpins everything Facebook does has been knocked off the internet. And so even though these services are hosted separately, they're hosted in separate locations. So for example, there will be servers, Facebook and WhatsApp servers here in South Africa. But because of what's happened here with the whole Facebook network that's been knocked offline, no one can access anything, regardless of the fact that the services are separate, that they're distributed all over the world. Something really bad has happened, either through some kind of mistake that a technician has made who's having a really bad night, or perhaps through some kind of attack. We'll only find out which of those two things it is after Facebook confirms it. They're the only ones who can.
Is there a chance that it could be something as dangerous as ransomware?
There's a chance, though I don't think that Facebook would fall prey to something like that, and I would hope that they'd be able to recover quickly from a ransomware attack. This seems far more severe than that.
Wow.
To put things in perspective, ransomware is something that would infect individual servers or computers. This is something that's knocked Facebook's core network infrastructure offline, and that points to usually a mistake. A technician somewhere has made a configuration mistake, and they are going to get fired tonight.
Or it could, I mean, you know, the Russians, Chinese have been accused of, you know, sometimes being at the center of cyber attacks. And it would need somebody of that size and that ability to disrupt, I guess, especially if these platforms are doing negative things, saying negative things, allowing negative things in their countries.
Right, and there is a chance that it's an attack. As you say, it would have to be somebody with an immense capability to pull off an attack, or some kind of insider, perhaps. Facebook has had a eventful, shall we say, few days. There was the whistleblower interview on 60 Minutes recently, where they accused Facebook of essentially weaponizing hatred and monetizing hatred. And so the people are connecting all of these dots together to try and explain what's going on now. But unfortunately, there are just too many unknowns. It can be something as simple as a configuration error. It's happened before. It happened in 2019. Or it could be an attack. But we'll only know for sure when Facebook actually confirms it.
Or it could be a disgruntled employee with access to key parts of the business.
Exactly. If that were the case, if it were an act of sabotage, that would definitely be a first, and it would have to be someone that somehow got access to multiple levels of systems. I would assume that a company like Facebook would have measures in place to prevent something like that from happening, which is why I'm thinking it's probably a mistake, like it was in 2019.
All right, so the cost of this, I mean, on one level, it's reputation, but on the other, for every minute that people can't access these platforms, that's advertising revenue that's disappearing and can never be recovered.
Right, so Facebook itself has lost a tremendous amount of revenue, a tremendous amount of trust. And then Mark Zuckerberg individually has lost nearly $7 billion. It might actually be more by now. Wow. So this is Bloomberg reporting that his personal wealth has fallen by around 105 billion rands, if you convert that, and that's because of how the stock price has plunged since mid-September. 15% down, 5% down today. So the markets as well punishing Facebook for everything that's gone wrong in the last month, and especially in the last couple of days, with the whistleblower and now with the outage.
What does this mean for consumers? Might we then say, do you know what, I was upset with the new rules of WhatsApp, I'm going to Telegram and I'm never going back to WhatsApp? Might this be decisions that people are making?
Certainly, it's certainly what we saw with BBM in South Africa. I don't know how many people remember BBM, but there were problems on the BBM network, but it took multiple times, right? It had to happen several times, and it had to happen within months of one another. And then people started going, you know what, I'm ditching my BlackBerry, I'm ditching BBM, and I'm switching to WhatsApp. And so we could definitely see something like that. With WhatsApp, people switching to Telegram, though I would prefer if they switch to Signal instead. With folks going, you know what, I've had enough. There's all this negativity around Facebook, and now this outage, and I need to be able to communicate with my friends and family, especially while we're still on some form of lockdown. and we've come to rely on WhatsApp for everything in South Africa, from voice calls to, it's replaced everything from SMS to video calling for us, and people would I think tonight be looking at switching to something like Telegram if they desperately need to be communicating with their friends and family.
And we were just talking about the social aspect, but there are a lot of businesses now that communicate with their customers through WhatsApp. And I know that my podiatrist, for example, communicates with her patients through WhatsApp. And so that means a number of businesses are in trouble.
Yes, businesses are in trouble, though, fortunately, it's relatively late in the evening in South Africa, though I've heard from restaurants who have said that they've been impacted because they can't communicate on WhatsApp. But our own government communicates with journalists and with its people through these platforms, whether it's Facebook or WhatsApp or now Twitter. So at least Twitter is still up. But it's gotten to the stage where government departments in this country update their Facebook and Twitter pages more diligently than they do their own websites, and would post information via WhatsApp groups far more than they would through platforms that they own. And I really hope that this is a wake-up call to everybody who operates, who needs to communicate with customers, communicate with constituents and stakeholders, that you need to make sure that you own a platform of your own, because if an outage like this happens, you need to be able to, or you need to know that you can communicate with folks without being dependent on somebody else's platform to do so.
I mean, they're failing on the crisis communications front, aren't they? I mean, the first thing you want to tell people when you have a major problem like this is what is happening, and it doesn't seem to be the case.
Indeed, and the only update on the official Facebook, Twitter page right now, funny enough, they've posted to Twitter, their arch rival. It was 2 hours ago. Facebook said, "We're aware that some people are having trouble accessing our apps and products. We're working to get things back to normal as quickly as possible, and we apologize for any inconvenience," trying to downplay the severity of the outage, while not providing any kind of feedback about what's going on, how long it will be down for. Yes, absolutely, they are failing at crisis communications.
Jan Vermeulen, thanks very much indeed. I wish I could WhatsApp my thanks, but we're going to have to leave it there, my friend. Thanks so much indeed for joining us.
Pleasure, thank you.